Hey everyone! Welcome back. I am back today with more Jojolion reviews, you guys. Got pretty bizarre last time, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe even a little too bizarre for my tastes. I know such a thing should really not exist, but then at the same time, some of that batch was just like too much, way too much. Today we've got, let's see, what is it? Chapters 29 through, probably should have checked that before, 32, 29 through 32. Yeah, and I gotta tell you guys, it's still pretty wild. Still gonna be pretty wild, but not nearly as icky wild as last time. So that's very positive. Before I get started, I do just want to say if you're joining me early today, you know exactly what that means. It means you are one of my awesome patrons. Thank you so very much. And you know, as always, I'm sending up those big old hugs right through that screen. And if you're joining me on the YouTubes, I'm really glad you're here. I do hope you'll hit like and subscribe for me. It helps me and my channel a whole lot. I also hope you'll check out the link to my Patreon, which is going to be in the description down below. Also helps me a whole lot, and you get early access videos, uncut, unfiltered. Going back years and years, all of the JoJo anime is up there now through part 6. All Steel Ball Run is up there, of course. So yes, thank you in advance for that. All right, guys, I'm not going to dwell on last time because, you know, it was a pretty rough one to get through. I will say the takeaway points for me were kind of like getting to know Tsurugi a little bit better. We got a little bit more of Norisuke. He's kind of coming off as a little bit more of like a real one. I don't know if it's just that Araki kind of meant for him to be more layered, like he could be really crazy and kind of out there, and he can also be a little bit more, you know, kind of stand-up guy. Or if maybe he just decided to sort of take his character in this direction now. Like, I don't know. But he was coming off as a real one in the last one. Like, he was definitely coming off as, like, he's a stand-up guy. And I'm all about that. Because, like, I go back and forth with the whole Higashikata family, minus Josuke, because he's dead to me. They're kind of, like, likable sometimes, and sometimes they're kind of, like, not. But I feel like we're leaning towards likable. We're leaning towards like a little kooky but likable. So yeah, of course we had all the stuff going on with Yasuho. Save Yasuho, please save Yasuho. I can't. She really is the new Lucy. She really is. But yeah, so crazy batch, crazy noisy bizarre batch last time. Let's just kick it off today with chapter 29, because where we left off last time, we were in the middle of a fight. We're being chased by chestnuts. It's very bizarre. So chapter 29, we start out with a little flashback of Norisuke. The Norisuke that we're following in the story, the dad, is actually the 4th. He's the 4th, so the one that we knew in Steel Ball Run was 1st. Really interesting. It says on this little chart thing that his name is, actually no, it says it in the screenshot, you'll see it, and last time I actually noticed that for some reason his name had Josuke next to it, and I saw it again in this panel that you're going to be seeing right now, and it says that his name is Josuke. It says like Josuke in parentheses, and then there's a translator's note that says it's spelled differently in kanji from the other two Josuke, so part 4 and part 8, which I wasn't aware that part 8 and part 4 had 2 different kanji names, but I think that's pretty typical because kanji can vary a lot. Like you can use a lot of different kanji to make, you know, one word or name or whatever. And 2 things. First of all, this is a really weird coincidence, right? Because like I don't think this is a common name in Japan. I could be wrong. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but like I don't think it's a common name. The other thing is, like, what are the odds that Yasuho would name her? Did she name her dog after the... But, like, nobody calls him Josuke, so I'm very curious, like, is this just, like, is it, like, a traditional name that nobody uses? Is it, like, a middle name? I don't think middle names are a big thing in Japan from what I've seen in a lot of, like, Japanese entertainment. I haven't noticed a lot of middle names, but... So I like, if anyone can clear that up for me, like, genuinely, like, why he has, like, 2 names, but I'm not exactly sure about that. So, but anyway, really weird coincidence. He just happens to also be like a Josuke, I guess. And apparently his mom is Tomoko. There is like a little chart. I don't have it in front of me. I'm just reading my notes. But there is like a little chart. We get like a little bit of the family tree, like a little snippet of it. And his mom, I think, is Tomoko, who you know is the name of Josuke's mom in part 4. And what's really it's really crazy about this to me, the way that we like shifted this whole family tree is so wild, because she is married to one of the other Norisuke's, who's like the nephew of Rina. So basically the nephew of Johnny, which means that this Tomoko would be like George's cousin's wife. So it would be like Joseph's grand cousin's wife, or once removed. I don't know how you put that, like when it's your parents' cousin. But it's just like, wow, we really it's a little weird considering their other universe relationship. Wow. We really shifted, guys. We really shifted. Anyway, so little Norisuke is asking his mom in the flashback about the disease that makes them lose their memories and turn to stone, and how he's heard that, like, their family is cursed and all this stuff. So, like, this is kind of like not a well-known thing, but it's known enough in, like, a small town, I guess. And she's telling him, like, look, like, don't listen to that. Don't believe it. Our family is strong, and, like, you were born to be brave. And she mentions that his dad had the same thing, and now he's fine. Like, diseases can be cured. But then, like, just as we're talking, Norisuke starts turning into stone. And so we fast forward to present, and he's flashing back to this as they try to open the hatch. Like, where we left them, they were trying to open this hatch to get in. Tsurugi's inside his basement and everything, and we're being attacked by chestnuts and all that good stuff. So, Norisuke is trying to reason with Tsurugi, who tells him that he's basically traded Josuke to Yotsuyu, who's the person that were the enemy sand user, in this case, the architect from last time, in exchange for a cure for the disease. So he tells Norisuke, like, just leave Josuke here. Like, just let him have what he wants. So meanwhile, the chestnuts are attacking Josuke. They're not stopping. They won't stop coming. And Josuke tells Norisuke to use his stand to open the hatch, which he does. But Tsurugi is smart. He has a chain, like a chain on the hatch door as well. So now Norisuke and Josuke are both getting attacked, and Norisuke's stand he's saying, like, it's going to take too much time to try and break this chain. So Josuke's like, well, I have plenty of time to break the chain. He calls out his stand. He uses the bubbles to steal the chestnut's moisture from inside the burrs. Like, the way that you can, it's a lot like Crazy Diamond, because the creativity, it's not like Crazy Diamond, but it's on par with Crazy Diamond in terms of, like, the creativity that you can use with the stand. It's so wild to me. So he uses the bubbles to steal the chestnut's moisture from inside the burrs, which breaks down the fibers of the chestnuts and basically disintegrates them so that Norisuke can break the chain. So Norisuke tells Tsurugi that he has to tell him what's going on, like, right now. Like, who is this person you're working with? And Tsurugi explains that Yotsuyu can cure the disease, and for some reason, he also happens to hate Josuke. And Norisuke seems to recognize the name Yotsuyu when Tsurugi uses it. So it's like, huh? So apparently, Yotsuyu is the architect who designed the Higashikata mansion. Finn, that was a short one. So basically in this one, the big takeaway for me was the flashback, getting to see, like, young Norisuke, getting to see, like, kind of like more of the origins of this. A very, very mysterious illness. I do have some theories and thoughts about it that I'll give you more towards the end of the batch, because there's some stuff that came to my attention at the end of this batch that, like, I didn't have in mind when I was reading it, but now that I know it, I'm like, does that have something to do with it? And I don't know. It's like, it's very, very reaching. Like, last time I kind of had a similar issue where I was just like, I can't get my little necklace centered. I'm sorry. I had a similar issue where I was just, like, going back and forth like this. Just feels so much like what Johnny did, you know? Like, we found out that, and we're going to get more about this in a second, we found out that, like, the Norisuke's mom traded her life for Norisuke. And it just feels so much like what Johnny did. It almost feels like it should be a curse that's passed down through their family, through the Joestars, and not through the Higashikatas. Only Rina had it first. So maybe like Rina and her brother had it, but I don't know why all of a sudden it only started going to like the firstborn males. Maybe because Rina's got, so here's a theory, okay? This is just like an on-the-spot theory. Johnny cured Rina's and George's, but maybe Norisuke the second, who is Rina's brother, maybe his didn't get cured, and maybe that's why it's getting passed down through the Higashikatas. But the only weird thing about that is, why the heck would the passing down be so directly related to like what Johnny specifically did? And there's going to be an answer to that too. So put a pin in that. We might have an answer to that at the end of this batch. But then why would Holly get it again? And I have another theory. Just hold on, because the chapters right up until chapter 32 are fairly short. And so I have a few theories about that, but like I feel like a lot of this I'm just sort of like, it still just show up in the air that I'm just sort of like wildly grasping at straws about it. So let's just go into chapter 30. This one's slightly longer, but not too bad. So Josuke is explaining that these chestnuts are like the gravitational pull of love. And they won't stop until they reach his internal organs, basically. And I'm just like, the way that he put it, the first thing I thought was like, so you're saying you're a love kind of guy? You know, I'll look for any and all references to part 4, you guys. Tsurugi's freaking out. Norisuke's trying to comfort him, and he's saying, I'm not mad. I understand why you're stressed, but like he tells him to have courage. He's from a long line of these eldest sons and a strong family. And he tells him to be a man, but also says like he'll protect him. And meanwhile, while this is going on, Josuke's like, hey, where's Yasuho at? So Tsurugi tells him, oh, don't worry about big sis, like she's asleep, and he goes in and checks on her, and he's relieved. Sure enough, she's in there, she's sleeping peacefully, and Josuke is like about to wake her up, but Norisuke tells him that the room that she was in used to be Yotsuyu's room, and that kind of makes him stop in his tracks. So Norisuke explains that Yotsuyu was this young, talented architect. Norisuke saw something in him, and he remembers like all these things about him, like he used to like to drink cherry Coke. And honestly, like Coke has such a special place on the show because, of course, you know, the first time we meet Joseph, he's drinking a Coke. And for some reason, when he mentioned the cherry Coke, the first thing I thought of was like the Chicky Cherry Cola line from the Part 4 ending song. But I'm pretty sure this came out before Part 4 was animated, so those two are probably totally unrelated. Like when Johnny mentioned Roundabout, and I was like, oh my god, he mentioned, and you know, somebody was like, yeah, but like that hadn't come out yet, so it's like, you really have to keep the timeline in your head. Okay, so Yotsuyu also designed the tea house that is next to this little fruit stand that the Higashikata family has, like, I think it's like at the train station or something. So he did a lot of work for them. So apparently Norisuke let him stay in that basement while he was working, and this was all before the earthquake. He does mention that, like, his work was so good that not even a single window pane was affected by the earthquake. So I'm like, okay, so he's, and it's not odd, because, I mean, there's, like, prodigies and everything, but, like, keep in mind, this person looks very, very young to be, like, this talented. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be this experienced with architecture, which seems like something where, like, any kind of, doesn't that seem like a line of work where, like, you'd want, like, a lot of experience you wouldn't get that good without a lot of experience. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess you could say that about any industry, but, so that was my first thing, is like, wow, he's, like, really good. So put a pin in that. So he's, Norisuke saying, like, look, I only ever interacted with him professionally. That's all I know. So Tsurugi explains that he saw Yotsuyu cure a dog that had been turned to stone. So I'm like, oh my god, was that why they were focusing so much on that dog from, like, a few chapters ago? Like, I remember mentioning it and being like, this doesn't go anywhere, but they focus on it a bit. So I'm just gonna mention, like, there was a dog. So yeah, so at least we're getting, like, doggies cured, and doggies being, like, you know, not dog violence. You know my theory. I think that the attempted you-know-what is the new dog violence. And I'm like, Araki, no. No. I don't want either of those. So anyway, Norisuke's like, how did he cure this dog? And apparently Yotsuyu fed the dog something. So Josuke's like, you know, all this aside, dogs and diseases and stuff, like, this guy wants me dead, and we have no clue why. Can we, like, focus on that? So here's my thing at this point in the story. It seems like Yotsuyu knows about the whole Kira thing. He knows that Josuke is half Kira, and Kira, we know, apparently had found a cure. Is that why this guy's after him? Was this guy the cure and Kira found out and then he killed Kira? So either like Kira knew this guy had a cure and the guy killed him, or Kira had another cure and for some reason this guy didn't like that and he killed him. That was my thoughts going into this, okay? So where was I? Oh, so Norisuke mentions it's like almost like he was waiting for Josuke, like the way that he made sure he was like around their house and everything. I'm like, that's pretty freaky. So Josuke asks if there's another way in and out of this hatch thing, and apparently the basement, and apparently there is. Sure enough, he goes to check, and I'm so used to saying Yotsu. There's too many Y names. Yasuho is gone. So Norisuke says, please don't go after him. And Josuke's like, I have to. I don't care, like, what he wants to do to me. Like, and Norisuke's like, no, I mean, I'll go after him. So we get this cool shot of Norisuke in a stand. And the puzzle pieces start forming something, like using what Yasuho left behind. So we find out the stand is called King Nothing. It can see smells, and it can see the form of smells left behind from personal belongings. And of course, the first thing I thought of was Highway Star. Like, it's not exactly like Highway Star, but the whole, like, the scent thing, everything, like, I thought of Highway Star. And it is a fair bit like Highway Star, honestly. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with Highway Star because that arc was like my favorite ever of part 4. And that's really saying something because we had some phenomenal arcs in part 4 that I really loved. So Tsurugi warns him, don't go outside. Like, why are you putting yourself in danger just for Josuke? And Norisuke is like, look, we're Higashikatas. Like, you shouldn't be okay with someone entering your home and doing whatever they want. You understand? And like, Tsurugi's mind is kind of blown by this. So I feel like Norisuke is like, he really does have like, he has like a lot of honor and pride in this family, and it's really important to him that like that gets passed down, and he teaches Tsurugi about that. So like, he's really coming off as a real one in this one. So King Nothing's tracking is awesome. It really is like Highway Star, only with like puzzle pieces instead of like feet. Which, to be fair, invites a lot of puzzle pieces, invite a lot less jokes, I guess, than the feet. So Norisuke starts telling Josuke about how his mom took the disease in his place. He explains all this stuff about equivalent exchange and about how before the earthquake, this was the ground where the equivalent exchange took place. And he even uses like the lemon and orange example again that we heard, what's her name? The Jotaro girl. The girl Jotaro. Using, I think her name's Kay. And I don't think she's really an Ijimura, unless she is. I don't know. They never really said. So anyway, he says this started being performed every generation. And he's like, look, there's no way a food cured this. Like, it's got to be a trick. He was using a trick on Tsurugi or something. So they notice that his stand is starting to like wrap around to the left. And it's like coming back towards them. So they look, and Yasuo is like lying on the ground right behind them. And they're like, how could we not notice she was right behind us? And I'm like, yeah, no, you're right. And so they figure out if Yasuo's here, it means Yotsuyu is nearby as well. Sure enough, a stone hand reaches out and touches Josuke. He fights him off with soft and wet, but figures out that he must have like snuck up on them. Disguise is one of the many like rocks in this area. Like, he could take the form of a rock, or they're not quite sure at this point, but it'll be clarified. Norisuke asks if that means he has 2 stands, which like can't be possible. Josuke figures out that this must be his actual physical makeup. Like, he literally is a rock. But like, how is it possible that any human could do that, you know, if it wasn't their stand? Like, if this was his stand, I'd be like, that, okay, well, we've seen a lot of crazy stands. Like, he could turn into a rock. It's, you know, it's not that deep. But, like, the fact that he has a stand plus this means that, like, yeah, that he actually is, like, a stone. Norisuke is shocked at the thought of his skin being a rock for obvious reasons. Like, this brings back memories for him. And Josuke says to hurry and get his set because he can hear something coming from the forest. Finn to chapter 30. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what was brought to my attention. Now that we know a little bit more about Yotsuyu, I'm going to tell you what was brought to my attention after. I didn't put this together at all. When they started talking about stones and rocks and everything, I'm like, oh, is this kind of like a little bit of a nod to the Angelo rock and how Josuke turned him into a rock? And, you know, I was thinking more like part 4. This is going to become more evident later on when you actually, like, see Yotsuyu, like, his form. But it was brought to my attention after, and I didn't get this at all while I was reading, that this is a reference to the Pillar Men. This is like the AU version of the Pillar Men. Not exactly, because I don't think they're supposed to be like vampires. But remember how I said, like, he's super talented for a guy that, like, is super young. You know what I mean? So just keep that in mind. It'll make a little bit more sense going forward. I think I have some theories, like, not very founded theories, but just, like, I had a thought about it after, because I'm, like, going back to the stuff that we were talking about with, like, how did this get passed down anyway? Like, it shouldn't even be passed down through the Joestars, and the fact that it's being passed down only to one person, and the fact that it will be passed down to the Higashikata is, like, the same way that Johnny... But so, okay, so I will briefly pause here, because now I can tell you the whole equivalent exchange thing. So was it specifically, I mean, we know that that is how Love Train works. You know, like, you do, it gets transferred to another person. But here's my thing. Was it solely Love Train? Or was it because they were kind of in this area? I think Johnny, weren't they, like, kind of in this area? I don't know if they were right where the walleyes were, but I feel like they were in this general area when all that happened. Did it have to do with that equivalent exchange that was something about that area to begin with? You know, like, I've always felt like this is like a Devil's Palm situation where, like, there's just something about this region where the walleyes are that is, like, mysterious and spooky and just stuff happens. Or is it that started taking place because Love Train had been used there? Like, the whole corpse, like, transferring something to somebody else. So I guess maybe you could say either way that the reason why the Higashikatas are able to do this every generation is because of something unique to this area of Morio, where they can go, they can take on the disease within themselves and, like, take it away from their child. The only thing is, like, who has been doing that? Well, we know in Tomoko's case, it was her. It was not. So maybe the moms are taking it on. But then, so I guess they are expecting Mitsuba to take it? I don't know. Because my thing is, like, these eldest sons are alive. Like, it's not like, oh, okay, eldest son has an eldest son. First eldest son is going to die now because he has to take on the disease. You know what I mean? Like Norisuke's alive, and we know in his case because his mom took it. I don't know what happened to his dad. But it kind of sounded to me like Norisuke was planning on taking it on for Tsurugi when the time came. So I don't know. They have a parent. They have a parent or somebody or grandparent taking this on when the time comes to, like, absorb it from the child. So whether it's because of what Johnny did or not, maybe that's why. And maybe, I don't know why it stopped. Probably... Yeah, maybe just because it's not being passed down in the girls anymore. So maybe it just stopped with Rina because, like, you know, power of Jesus. I don't know. Like, you know, that just stopped it but then why did it start back up with Holly? And I have a theory about that too, but let's get into the rest of the batch first because I just talked for a very long time. All right, so that was chapter 30, right? Okay, chapter 31, super short. Chapter 31, we get an updated map and character list for anyone who's keeping track of that. I don't read them in detail every single time, but I like to put them up because I think he is changing them based on like what has happened each, you know, each arc. So, also, now you know why I wore my red stone today. Because of the whole Pillar Man thing. So, we flash back to this exchange taking place between Norisuke and his mom. The year is 1963. We see her turn to stone as he wakes up. And, okay. Then we cut back to present. Yasuho won't wake up and they can hear something coming. So, Norisuke activates his stand and uses it on Yasuho to get Yotsuyu sent and track him. So even though he's a rock, he's Pillar Man, he still has a scent, which makes sense because like a rock would have a scent. Like I see Buffy sniff random rocks and stones and stuff like all the time. Like they would have a scent. Where is Buffy? I guess she's not around today. So it works. King Nothing finds a rock and Josuke punches it with his stand. But if then like nothing is happening, like the punch is not having an effect. So Norisuke's like, no, I'm sure this is the right one. So Josuke breaks off a piece of the rock and it's bleeding. So the rock starts to take the form of Yotsuyu and they can't believe this is really happening. Like they're questioning like if he's really even human now. So this is where like the whole Pillar Man thing probably should have been sinking in with me. If you guessed the first time reading this about Pillar Man thing, that is amazing. You should give yourself a pat on the back because like it took somebody bringing it to my attention to actually know that that's what they were referencing. Because I don't often think of them in their like stone form. You know what I mean? Like I think of them once they're all, you know, out there and being all like big and half naked and muscly and everything. So. But it makes a ton of sense, and it does lead me into one of my theories. So Josuke observes that if he still has a scent, it means he can be injured. So, but just she's saying that he's cut off by a bunch of plastic containers being drawn towards them. Great. Norisuke's like, we have to decide right now if we're going to stay or if we're going to run, because these things have liquid inside them. Unlike the chestnuts and the flower pots, and guess what? The liquid is pesticide. So it's going to poison you. So then Josuke notices that Yotsuyu is now like right beneath him. And he's like technically touching him, I guess. But then the rock starts looking less and less like Yotsuyu and he like disappears. So he loses his form or something. I don't know. But he doesn't actually disappear. He just reappears in another rock behind them. We get this very mysterious shot of him saying, I will obtain it. Which I'm just like, I stared at this page for like 5 minutes trying to think like, what is he talking about? Like, what is he talking about? Because I'm like, I forgot something or like I'm missing something. Like, what is happening? So he points to Josuke and says, look, not Kira. Which like technically he is kind of Kira. He's just not strictly Kira. He's like, you're already losing. Your king and your rook are forked. And you thought you were surviving by entering the Higashikata household, but that was your undoing and all this stuff. So Josuke takes this opportunity while he's monologuing, just go ahead and punch him. But he just disappears into a bunch of other rocks and you can hear rustling as he moves around and gets away. So Josuke has no idea what he was talking about either with the whole like, I will obtain it. I'm like, oh, good, thank God. Like I literally just thought it was me. So Norisuke's like, look, you're going to have to leave Yasuho behind and go focus on these containers. And Josuke's like, no, absolutely not. So Josuke thinks he would try and use Yasuho to actually like get to him. So he shouts to Yotsuyu that like that Yotsuyu is going to regret ever getting Yasuho involved in this. So Norisuke asks, like, do you really think you can use your soap bubbles against this pesticide? Like, is that going to work? And he's like, no, I'm not even going to try to use the soap bubbles for defense right now. He says he's going to use them to attack. And then he calls out Soft and Wet, and he lands a big bloody blow on this rock. And he tells him, you thought my king and my rook were forked, but I've actually got checkmate. And I'm like, oh, he's just, you know what? For a guy who like can be so kind of like cute and clumsy and airheaded and can't remember like most things, he is killing it with the one-liners. He is killing it with like the cool moments, with like the cool lines and everything. Like that must be because like Kira's kind of like Jotaro in this. And I don't know if you remember part 4 when they were fighting when they first found Ghost Dad and they first like got him kind of like locked up and trapped, and Jotaro's like, all right, Josuke, take it away, say something cool. And like, this is just a tradition. It's a tradition just to have like a cool saying, like a cool moment, cool one-liner. So speaking of cool things, Josuke puts the whole entire rock inside of a bubble. And he says he plans on just like floating him away out of range. And Norisuke's like, oh my god, are you just gonna like drop him in the sea or something? So then we see Yotsuyu strike this cool pose like out of nowhere, and he just says, I am a rock, I am an island, which is their lyrics from the Simon and Garfunkel song, I Am a Rock. All these rocks start flying towards him, and they literally burst his bubble. And that's when Norisuke, all these Sky names are so hard to keep straight. We have like 2 Sky names, we have 2 Y names. Like, Tsurugi's is the only one that stands out right now. So that's when Norisuke notices all the containers are flying towards them. Fin to chapter 31, you guys. All right, the next one's really, really long. So I don't know, maybe I'll give you my theory on this first, okay? Because now we know about the, well, what else? Maybe I'll just wait. Maybe I'll just wait because, like, maybe I'll just wait. I'll wait till the end of chapter 32. Because I did have a thought about this whole Pillar Man thing and like why this is affecting Holly, like of all people, but like none of the other ones. Like as far as we know, Joseph didn't. I mean, we really don't know, but it doesn't sound like George had it taken away, and it doesn't sound like it affected Joseph. And then it's only supposed to affect like the sons. So like it's just very strange. So I'll give you my opinion on that after. Did I have anything I wanted to say about chapter 31? It's a big action chapter. I guess the big takeaways would be Josuke, you know, being kind of a boss and doing some cool stuff here. And also just we kind of get a little bit more of like, okay, well, he could still be hurt. He still has like some human-like qualities, or like at least some, he's not like invulnerable, you know what I mean? Like he's not like a god. He's not, you know, for a Pillar Man, he's not quite, I mean, they could be injured too, but just like not very easily, you know, like you couldn't just like literally just make them bleed that easily. And we know that because it was a lot when Joseph actually did that, and they were like, like that doesn't happen very often. So, all right, guys, chapter 32, we start out with a description of the sand. I am a rock. If Yotsuyu touches a human, and notice how they say human in this. Like Yotsuyu's not, which I think is really what they're getting at. It's like this really is like an otherworldly creature. Objects will rapidly converge towards the center of that human's body. The range is 5 to 10 meters, and the attack will be canceled if the person runs far enough away out of the range. Only one type of object can be made to gather, but Yotsuyu is the one who decides what the object will be. So it also says like $years old. So I'm like, okay, they're definitely trying to indicate that like this person probably lives outside of the parameters of a lot of human things like aging, perhaps. Kind of maybe suggesting some vampiric aging qualities, not really anything else vampiric, but you know, definitely enough to draw the connection, which I did not draw the connection at all until it was pointed out to me. But for your benefit, it has been pointed out earlier in this so that we can all enjoy the pillarishness of this person. So Josuke starts getting attacked by the pesticide, and so does Yasuho. Norisuke is trying to get involved, but Yotsuyu tells him, like, just stay out of this. And I'm like, oh, does he actually like Norisuke? But no, he goes on to tell Norisuke he wants him alive because in the future, he's going to steal all his land, all his fortune, and the wealth of his whole lineage. And I'm like, shoot. Wow. Excuse me. So Josuke uses bubbles on the pesticide, which is kind of what I was kind of thinking that. I'm like, couldn't he just like steal the pesticide and put it in the bubbles? Or like, couldn't he do that? So Yotsuyu realizes he remembers like his stand despite not having all his memories. Like he remembers how to use it, I guess. But tells him it doesn't matter because that's not going to work against him. He's explaining there's absolutely no way to try and avoid this pesticide. And Josuke's telling him, like, look, you're the one who's not listening because even though, like, I have no memories of you, I haven't been using the bubbles to try and get out of range from you or for any kind of defense. I did this. I brought you here so that I could push you off this cliff. And sure enough, he proceeds to, like, push him off the cliff. Like, he goes with him. He just goes charging at him. And Yotsuyu says, like, what, are you trying to, like, wash off the pesticide? Like, that's not going to work. And Josuke's like, look, just worry about yourself. You're the one who's cornered and, like, falling off a cliff. So Josuke says he used the bubbles to push him into the sea, but he can also use them to put voices inside of and use to converse underwater. And it also means that he's using them to talk to Norisuke up on the shore. So he asks him, like, have you figured it out yet? I brought you down here to drown you. So Josuke's like, he's telling him he's going to make him sink unless you want to start explaining, like, who I am. And I'm like, oh, that's you playing a tough game here, Josuke. I like it. So meanwhile, he's telling Norisuke up on the shore to please use a stand to go look for some nets on the coast. So he gets the nets and he says, like, whether or not you can breathe underwater as a rock, I will just attach weights to you so that you basically can't get out. Even if you try to use your rock form, like, you're going to drown. And I'm like, oh my God. So we had, like, cars in part 2 getting, you know, stuck in space as like this kind of like crystallized rock thing in space. And now we're going to get this person, like, stuck at the bottom of the ocean as a rock. So he tells him, he actually says this line, I had to put this in here, that he tells him he'll be stuck as a stone on the ocean floor forever. And I'm just like, the stone and the ocean just were like, I'm like, oh my God, stone ocean reference. Not really, but a little bit. So Yotsuyu yells that the one born from stone is Josuke. And because he put him between some rocks and killed him. So he admits that he did kill him, but he still survived. And he says, if it weren't for Kira, you would have died for sure. And if it weren't for all the walleye faults, you'd definitely be dead. So that's when I'm like, wait, I've been assuming this whole time this guy killed Kira. But the way he's talking, it sounds like he was trying to kill whoever, whatever, combined with Kira to make up Josuke, not Kira. So is that what's going on? Or was that just was it a weirdly put line? I don't know. I do not know. So he tries to attack, but Soft and Wet just starts, like, beating the brakes off of him out of his stand. And we see a soap bubble going for Yotsuyu's eye, and the eye starts to break apart. So Josuke's like, tell me who I am or I am attaching the weights. And Yotsuyu starts to kind of, like, say something, but I think he's just making, like, gurgling glug sounds. And so he tries to attack Josuke one more time, and Josuke just uppercuts him. He's like, no, it's not going to happen. So Josuke says he's taken all the air out of his lungs and to just tell him. And Yotsuyu says, you know what? You're just going to be betrayed by the Higashikata family anyway. So he goes on to say the only one who did the right thing here was Tsurugi. And then he starts to, like, crack apart, and this fruit drifts out of, like, his bag. And then Josuke's just kind of like, hey, Yotsuyu? Yotsuyu? And Yotsuyu's just ceasing to be. He's just cracking apart and dying. And I'm like, oh crap. So Josuke brings him back on shore, and Norisuke sees him. He's totally wrecked. Like, he doesn't even look like him anymore. And Norisuke's like, oh my god, what did you do to him? And Josuke explains he took air out of his lungs, but, like, actually not that much. He just wanted to corner him and, like, for info. But then these cracks started, and he just died. So Norisuke is questioning again, like, is this even a human? It just looks like like, at this point, he just looks like a rotting, defaced statue. Like, he doesn't even look human anymore. His visage is gone. So his body starts crumbling apart, and Norisuke's like, hurry, get his body out of the water. And they're like, this doesn't even look like a living organism. And Norisuke's saying, like, they have to get these remains analyzed and figure out what's going on. And he also says, like, even though this is stone, he might have actually drowned because maybe he couldn't take in oxygen while underwater. So even having a little bit of air taken away could have killed him. So it's kind of like, oopsie. Like, we know Josuke didn't really mean to kill him, but, like, oopsie, just didn't understand, like, his physiology, I guess. So they catch up with Tsurugi, who says that Yotsuyu was basically untraceable. Like, he had no phone, no bank account. But Norisuke's like, he must have studied somewhere to be that good at architecture, right? I mean, like, maybe, but unless you were just, like, what if you were, like, an unknown apprentice to, like, architects way, 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 way back, and, like, you know what I mean? Like, that would kind of sort of rule out any sort of, like, university education if you just happen to be, like, living for centuries and, like, experiencing and, like, learning under all of these, like, different people. But I see where he's going with it. So Tsurugi points out that Josuke also doesn't have any traces. Like, he has no house, he has no phone. And Norisuke corrects him and says, like, well, we just haven't found those things for Josuke yet. So, you know, you see he's kind of, like, on Josuke's side. And I'm like, you're kind of a real one, Norisuke. So Tsurugi says someone like Yotsuyu really doesn't need a house. Like, no matter where he is, he can just slip into society unnoticed and survive. And we see this cool imagery as he's saying this of, like, a rock emerging by a statue. And it's very like Weeping Angel from Doctor Who. It's like, you know, she could just be randomly out there among us at any time, you know. So Tsurugi says the thing is, if you want wealth, there are things that, like, you have to do in order to do that. And that's kind of like, so in the end, Yotsuyu was after, you know, just the basics, like food. I mean, not really basics, but he was after, like, food, power, fame, and even love is a means to, like, achieve. You know, we know that it sounds like he really wanted to be, like, wealthy. He really wanted, like, power, you know, like, but not power to rule the world, just kind of like, almost like an egotistical, like the kind of power that you would want in everyday life, like power in terms of, like, money and success and, you know, not so much world ruling. It didn't sound like anyway. So Norisuke starts freaking out that a part of him came off. And we find out that the part that came off that they can't find is, maybe we should just go ahead and just put, like, an eggplant emoji right here. Because, like, you'll see it in the screenshot, what he says. But as funny as it is that he's, like, freaking out about this, he's like, it's actually extremely important because, like, how would they, like, procreate or anything, you know? And he's asking all these questions, like, how do their genders even work? How do they mate? Like, do they mate with humans? Like, how does this work? And, like, to be fair, like, this is some pretty good questions, you know? And Josuke's like, I mean, we can go and try to find it, but Norisuke's like, no, the current probably took it away by now. And man, when that washes up somewhere and somebody finds it, that's good. You know what? That should be like one of the last panels of the series. Is because I don't think these are the big villains, the pillar, whoever, like the new pillar people. I don't think so. I mean, maybe they are, but like, just a tie in if we just had it wash up on the shore or something. Somebody comes along and gets it and they're just like, what the heck is this? Finn. Anyway, so Norisuke is saying, you know, just be aware, if they can procreate, there's more of them. And that means his friends are probably being born somewhere, like, as we speak. And we see, like, these rocks just, like, menacing. And Tsurugi asks, you know, hey, just out of curiosity, like, did this person have any food on them or something? Because apparently, like, he used food to heal the dog. And he needs that for curing his disease. So, did I say Tsurugi or Norisuke? I meant Tsurugi asked if he had any food. So Josuke remembers the fruit coming out, and we see it in the same panel, like drifting to the bottom of the ocean. And Norisuke's just like, stop, there's no food that can do this. And Josuke's like, no, I saw it. I saw the fruit. So he says whoever he was before, he came to Morio because he knew something. And because of that, Yotsuyu saw him as a hindrance. So he says that the fruit definitely has something to do with it, and he has to find out what it is. So meanwhile, we see Yasuho wake up from her nap with Paisley Park behind her, and guess what? She's holding half of the fruit. And then she's just like, oh well, back to sleepy sleeps for me. Fin to chapter 32 and fin to the batch, you guys. This was the one where we kind of make it official that, like, this is not a human. This is a totally different creature. Which, you know, I mean, it makes total sense because we've always had, like, we have vampires, zombies, ghosts, aliens. Like, there's never been a limit to, like, you know, oh, no, everything's just, like, we're grounded to a degree, but, like, that's not one of the things that we're grounded on is, like, other creatures. And so this makes total sense. And honestly, like, the whole idea that this is, like, the new Pillar Men is really, really interesting because it does kind of seem like they're after something, like Yotsuyu has an agenda, but it's definitely not like the, like, I'm going to be a god kind of agenda. It's kind of like, I'm going to be like a, I mean, he kind of has like the George Costanza. Like, remember how he was always saying he was an architect? Like, he really just wants to be an architect who has like a lot of clout and is well respected. Like, he really just wants power. Well, like, he wants, like, what any business tycoon wants. Like, he's not really, it doesn't feel like he's looking to be, like, a god. You know, not in the sense that the original Pillar Men were. So it's kind of interesting. It's a much different motive, unless there are other Pillar Men out there that have very different motives. You know, I'm not sure. You really can't speak for every Pillar person just because of the wants and needs of one of their people, you know. But it is kind of interesting to me, and I'm so glad that I was able to discover that before doing this, because it did give me a lot of ideas. Well, it gave me one idea. So you know how I've been saying, why the heck would this be passed down in the Joestar line when, like, George had it taken away? Like, it really should not have gone down the Joestar line. Because even, like, George was not an eldest Higashikata son. He was an eldest Joestar son. You know what I mean? So, like, this shouldn't even be passed down. Now, follow my logic on this. And I don't know if this is ever going to be addressed. I don't think we're going to get real into, like, each family member's history. But here's the thing. When you think Pillar Men, you think part 2, right? You think Joseph. What if there was a run-in with these Pillar Men during Joseph's time, just the same way that there was in, you know, like I call it our timeline, but like the original timeline that we first followed in part 2. And what if because of that somehow, the thing is, I don't understand what these Pillar Men have. Like, are they the reason for the curse, or is this just a coincidence? But if they're the reason for it, what if, like, they cursed, like, Joseph's line? And that's why Holly has it, you know? I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's really, really reaching. Because I don't feel like we're going to be doing any. I feel like we're going to be, like, we have a little focus on Holly the same way we did in Stardust Crusaders, of, like, she's sick and we have to save her, like, and that's kind of it. Like, we're not gonna go a whole lot deeper than that. But, like, that would be crazy if, like, it actually wasn't something having to do with what Johnny did, but it was because, like, you know, it was like revenge from Joseph, like, banishing their equivalent of cars to wherever he banished them to. I don't know. I do have to say one thing though. Our Joseph, like, original universe Joseph, he might have banished cars to space, but he never messed with the man's, you know, eggplant emoji. That's I mean, Josuke's, He is a fierce one for that. That was like, that's fighting dirty. He didn't mean it, but it's fighting pretty dirty. All right, you guys. Great batch. I love this that we have like a new version. I mean, I would have liked it even if it hadn't had anything to do with that, because I think it's just such an interesting concept. Like, we're learning about, you know, different kinds of creatures that can exist, and like how Morio has this effect, like the whole equivalent exchange thing. And like I said, my head is swimming with theories about what caused the equivalent exchange, or if the cause was Johnny, or if Johnny was affected by it, or like, you know, just what is going on with Morio? Like, why is this like a devil's palm situation? Like, what is happening here? We also got some hints about whoever, we didn't really get hints, but we got a little bit of mention of whoever the other, like, half is that makes up Josuke. And I'm like, that's something I've had in the back of my mind for a little bit now, because I kind of assume, I don't know. At first I was just kind of thinking like, okay, the person was just like who we know now, and then Kira just kind of got added to that. But now it's kind of sounding like there were legitimately two different people, maybe? And he is like, I don't know. I honestly, it's really hard to tell, because I feel like it kind of, the dialogue about it changes a little bit every single time we bring it up. But in this one, it definitely sounded like, you know, he had killed Josuke, and Kira was the reason. Kira and the walleyes, excuse me, were the reason. Like, maybe Kira took it on himself. Maybe Kira, can you absorb death from somebody? Or maybe Kira absorbed, well, the thing is, if Kira had absorbed the disease, he would have been a stone when they found him. I was going to say, maybe Yotsuyu made other half predecessor Josuke into stone, and Kira came along and took that using the equivalent exchange. The way that, but then I mean, it's not exactly like that, because they didn't combine though, because we had Kira's corpse. So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how it works. But now we have a little bit more insight on that. So that was something we got in this batch. I got some more theories about maybe how this whole thing is working, how it's being passed down. We got some great flashbacks with Norisuke. We got a lot of great time with Norisuke in general, where we got to know him and his style and his personality, his stand a little bit better. His stand is so cool. I freaking love his stand. Honestly, I'm a Rock was a really cool stand as well. And like I said, I just love the idea that we're introducing like other concepts now. Like, there's other creatures, there's other forces, there's other, like, whatever you want to call it, you know? So on top of, like, I mean, I don't know if that's going to have a big thing to do with the whole, like, disease mystery going forward or not. I don't know. I can really see it going either way. But I think it's interesting. I think it's really, and I think it's like no coincidence we had somebody who was like a rock formation when this disease is floating around, you know? So I'm really curious to see. I don't know what's happening with the fruit. The first thing I thought of was like the devil fruit from One Piece. But like, I don't know what's going on with the fruit. I don't know what's happening, but I'm really intrigued by the whole thing. And yeah, I can't wait to find out what's going to happen next. I love the mystery aspect of everything. Like, it's really, really, really pulled me in, and I appreciate it. So, yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed reading along with me. Who knows? I think this is the first time we actually finished an arc at like the end of a batch. So I think next time we're starting a new arc. So that'll be nice. We'll just get like a nice clean slate next time. But yeah, let me know what are you thinking and feeling about, if you haven't read this. If you have read it, then obviously, you know, you know what's going to happen. So be careful with the spoilers. But like, I really love to know, like, I'd love to have some feedback on this, because my head is just swimming about this whole thing, and I just thought this was an excellent batch. So get in touch with me, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this whole batch. Please be sure to join me next time, because you know it's going to be super bizarre, and I will need your help, and we will read it together. Bye for now, guys.